Hey guys, I'm Sean Rigsby. I'm a coach, athlete, and owner of a USAW Weightlifting club, and I'm here to talk about the changes being made to the USAW Weightlifting Bylaws. I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible, so if I'm moving fast, I apologize, but otherwise this will take forever. So, two major changes are happening. One is how what we call local weightlifting committees, or LWCs, is going to be restructured and turned into something called weightlifting state organizations. And I personally think this is a big improvement. Just speaking from experience being in North Carolina, here are some things that our LWC does not have or is not established. We do not have a website. We don't have state record keeping. So if you wanted to break state records, we wouldn't know what to do. There's no public posting of when meetings occur, any minutes from those meetings and what was discussed, or actually who our officers are. So you could inquire and find out, but that's not very good transparency in governing. There is no state championship bidding process that we're aware of. It's just kind of like people figure it out, and that's fine. For now, that's been fine. But with all the growth in our sport, people deserve better organization and greater transparency in how the processes are done. So here's what's in the text. I'm going to read this pretty quickly because there's a good amount of it, but not too much of it, okay? So what's being proposed for North Carolina is that the North Carolina and South Carolina LWCs are combined into a new WSO, or Weightlifting State Organization. I think that's great. It'll pool all of our resources together and kind of funnel athletes into one system. Other states have better and worse organization that I've seen, so some people might be upset about that, but honestly, any changes are better than how things currently are. If your LWC has not become organized through independent, like grassroots effort by this point, it is not going to just suddenly occur. This process, who gets to be president of each WSO and who gets to represent it, is going to dramatically improve the reliability and accountability of each regional, or in this case what we're calling weightlifting state organization, okay? So quickly, Article 8 says WSOs will operate under the USAW 501c3, so it means they're tax exempt. Financial arrangements for WSOs will be housed by USA Weightlifting as board ring-fenced funds. That just means any money that's going in to the WSO is actually handled by USA Weightlifting. However, a financial statement will be shared with the WSO leadership each quarter, and WSO leadership shall be entitled to inquire about any financial transaction. So each WSO can ask, hey, where's my money? How much of it do I have? And they'll get a quarterly audit. This is actually how things are already basically done. WSOs will transition from the current LWC arrangement on January 1st, so that's when the changes would take place. And there's a bit in here about how often elections will take place. Looks like rotating 4-year terms for representatives. But the important part is each WSO will be made up of the following: 9 total representatives, to include 3 athlete representatives from amongst their population of athletes who have competed at least one national championship in the last 10 years. So that's mimicking what happens at the USA Weightlifting national level, where we have elite athletes who either get elected to the Athlete Advisory Committee or the Board of Directors. Athlete representation is important. 6 individuals which represent the geographical spread of the region. Okay, so that means they have to be within the region. And for the initial elections, it looks like USA Weightlifting is going to determine how the representation will best take place. For future elections, the WSO will actually determine their own region. So we're combining North and South Carolina together. So for example, if it's important for Western Carolina to be represented, and let's say the low country, Columbia kind of area of South Carolina, we can kind of divvy the state up, so to speak, in regional spots within the WSO, or not. It's really up to how your representatives decide would be most effective. Not every place has enough organization and resources for weightlifting or even care about it, so may not be purely geographical. Amongst the 9 individuals, USA Weightlifting will appoint a president via an interview process to include representatives from the USA Weightlifting Board of Directors, the WSO Council, the Athlete Advisory Committee, and staff. This is huge because right now you can just be elected president and there isn't much accountability for what you do, or even like incentive. To be honest, I know the people that run our LWC, and they're not getting any money out of this, and it is a thankless job. But maybe we can change that now that there's more participation and more funds coming in. There can be some sort of small compensation for time, especially for someone serving in like a secretarial role that's really doing a lot of the work. But anybody that's willing to submit to this process, meet criteria, and get interviewed by all of these bodies, a board of directors, a special counsel, an athlete advisory committee, and the national office staff. If you're willing to go through this interview process, you probably actually care, and you probably actually want to do the job, as opposed to just winning a popularity contest in your state that nobody even knew it was happening. Okay, so this is going to improve accountability and performance of each WSO's region. So this is great. And following up on that, if any WSA board member fails to attend a board meeting, at least 50% of those called, they shall be referred to the USA Weightlifting Board of Directors for removal within 1 year. Because right now we can have a meeting, people don't show up, they're not doing their job. 50% is pretty low standard. If you showed up 50% of the time to your job, you'd be fucking fired. So I think that's great. Increasing accountability. WSOs shall defer any ethical or otherwise issues to USA Weightlifting Ethics and Judicial Committees, which is how it already is. This allows for local variances to regulations shall be permitted from WSOs by submission to the USA Weightlifting Board of Directors. Otherwise, these bylaws and provisions therewithin take precedence. So that's saying that there's going to be a standard set of bylaws for each WSO, but then you have the ability to amend them as would best fit your locale. There's a bit here about funding, where it's coming from and where it's going, but it doesn't really change the structure as much as the representation and the accountability along with the new territories. So I vote yes on changing the WSOs. I think that'll be a big improvement. The next part, where there's been the most misinformation, fear-mongering, whatever you want to call it, people that don't actually know what they're talking about, is with the USA Weightlifting Masters Council in Section 8 that will be created. USA Weightlifting Masters Council will exist to support the USA Weightlifting staff and the management of weightlifting over the age of 35, just like we have USA Masters right now. USA Weightlifting shall fully operate the Masters program in consultation with the USA Weightlifting Masters Council. So there is a loss of autonomy in that Masters, they don't even have it now, to be honest, because they operate within the umbrella. But it does seem like the final say won't rest with like a Masters board, but instead the board of USA Weightlifting. However, it is with consultation of this Masters Council, which effectively right now is the Masters Committee that exists. The Masters Council represents the views of Masters athletes to the staff and board of directors. That's great. Each individual population should be able to, express their views and have people represent them and bring them to the people making the decisions. The Masters Council shall advise the staff on all Masters-facing programs. Also great, saying that there might be special needs in a Masters national competition, and informing the staff that currently runs these, big-level competitions what those needs will be. All contracts in place where there's no conflict shall be honored as of August 1st. So saying if there's a meet already on the books being run the way it's already run, that'll continue to be the case. All Masters financial arrangements are integrated into USA Weightlifting. That is big because I don't think there's too much transparency with how and where funds are going at the moment. There's even admission of a financial conflict of interest by a Masters committee member somewhat recently. So those are concerning. Now funds will be handled much in the same way that we outlined in the WSO format, where USA Weightlifting as a nonprofit must have 100% transparency and report exactly where their money's going. The same thing will happen now for USA Masters competitions. The Masters Council shall be appointed from the Masters membership by the USA Weightlifting Board of Directors by ranking vote. Masters Council shall be made up of 2 athlete representatives appointed by the Athlete Advisory Committee. These people have to have competed at the Masters World Championships for Team USA, so that's continuing to mimic the elite athlete representation that we see in other governing boards. The 1 independent representative who has served in a senior officer role with a similar Masters organization, so it could be the current Masters weightlifting organization, or even maybe another Masters sport, because other sports have their own organizations as well. 3 Masters members. at least one of whom has experience in anti-doping at the master's level. I don't know the statistics, but I'd be willing to bet that like half of USADA sanctions are now against master's members. People either like taking TRT and not, filing a TUE, a therapeutic use exemption, or just taking whatever they want. There's definitely a lot of anti-doping violations at the master level. And I can also say, having been at master's competitions, not a lot of anti-doping practices taking place. Like not as thorough, and that might be due to budgetary restraints, but with how many people are competing, there's really too little testing taking place. Any USA weightlifting member not already appointed to the council who has a seat on the IWF Masters Committee shall be an ex officio member of the USA Weightlifting Masters Council. So I think that's just honoring people who have done the work and are part of IWF Masters already and giving them a seat at the table in the council. So that is what it says. It does not say that Masters meets are going away. It does not say that USA Weightlifting doesn't care about you. I understand that for a long time, USA Weightlifting didn't care about Masters Weightlifting because there wasn't any weightlifting of any kind. It was not an ageist thing. There was too little money, too little participation, and struggling to survive just as an organization in general. There are people who have done a lot of work in the Masters community to keep it, make it thriving in what it is, and now they're trying to expand upon that work by just adding more regulation, a little more financial oversight, which is great, and pooling all the resources that USAW has and has built over these past couple of years, and now offering them to masters. So I vote yes on that personally. You make up your own damn mind, and let's try to continue improving weightlifting in this country.